Welcome to God with George Ortega. This is episode number 89. I'm recording it on Thursday, February 25th, 2021 at 12:31 p.m. Eastern Time. And what I'd like to talk about today is suffering, pain, why God does that. You have to wonder. I mean, if we start out with the understanding that God created everything, the world, this universe, however you want to describe it, this reality. Naturally, God is everything, because there's nothing to create everything from but God. If God is all that existed before God created the world. So, especially from that second point, that perspective that God being everything, you have to wonder, what is the purpose of pain? Now, the standard answer is, well, it helps you develop character. It helps you become a better person. It helps you, it teaches you right from wrong. And yes, that's all true. But what we have to consider when considering that is that it didn't have to be that way. Let's say God, for example, is this is interesting actually. Let's say we hold God to be sinless, although like applied to God, I'm not sure how that would work. God is perfectly good. I mean, if God is perfectly good and it works for God, and we're supposed to have been created in God's image, then you would think that God would have created us to also be perfectly good, not having even the possibility of doing something wrong. So, and I'm gonna. This is the quintessential theme of religion, of spirituality, of it's the one question that supersedes all other questions. All other questions being perhaps a matter more of curiosity. Because we're sentient beings, we feel pleasure and pain, happiness and unhappiness. Our experience on Earth is most fundamentally emotional, and and I'm including physical pain within that. It's kind of like it's felt in our mind, and you have to wonder. Why would God do that? And now, it's fortunately fine. God, for whatever reason, and let's try to tease this out. Let's try to figure it out. But fortunately, if we take the big picture view, we will notice that, for example, this life on Earth right now, at least, is a lot better for most human beings than it ever has been. At least as far as civilization goes, probably. I can't believe that that pre-civilization human beings were happier, were as comfortable. I mean, we've got so many blessings. So what I'm trying to say is, yes, the trajectory, the direction of our evolution as a species seems to be in the direction of greater pleasure and less pain, which is great. I mean, it gives us something to hope for, look forward to, not just for ourselves, but for future generations. But that doesn't explain it all. Think about it. You're God. Okay, imagine you're God. You're going to create a world. World of beings you presumably love, right? I mean, why create a world of beings if you're God and you're the only power where you would have anything un, unappealing, about your creation. I mean, so that's the question. Like, God, and I can't, I can't imagine that God could not have created a world where everybody's completely happy all of the time. And to take that even further, considering God's eternity and God's infinitude, if that's a word, you would have to think that there would have been conceivably an infinite number of these, of such perfect universes that God created in the past. And maybe they can continue to exist in other realms of reality that we're not able to access or perceive. So that's, that's conceivable, and seems probable. But if we pull back and limit it to this reality we find ourselves in, it is the question. And unfortunately, as human beings, we lose sight of this, because our most fundamental drive as human beings is to seek pleasure, seek happiness, to avoid pain and unhappiness. But what happens is, so we've throughout history, culturally developed various means of achieving this that are generally indirect. We work hard, get married, raise a family, have friends, have projects, try to help the world, just do these things that do create happiness. And this is like, a bit of an aside for this series, but, we as human beings could actually look at our most fundamental motivation more directly, and discover and utilize more direct means for achieving this end, rather than all these indirect means, many of which, incidentally, don't work very well at all, don't work at all. And some of them actually distract us from from strategies that would work. All right. So anyway, let's return to God. So and I wonder now. Now we're going to get a bit surreal, a bit science fiction-y ish, because I wonder if, let's start with the premise that prayer is efficacious, that we pray to God, God listens, God considers, and God, decides whether to grant the prayer or not. Generally, our prayers have been about, individual happiness, individual well-being of those close to us. And, of course, we extend that to everyone on earth. But what I'm trying to say here, I don't think anyone, or very few people, I imagine, are praying the prayer, dear God, please end this pain, please end this suffering. We like the pleasure, the happiness is really, really nice, but this pain and suffering stuff, it's like nobody likes it. It's, so now, I mean, it's speculative, but it's conceivable that just as like God waits for us to ask for whatever we want a new job, we want whatever it is we want, we ask God, and a lot of times God will say, fine, it's a good thing, you can have it. But I don't think anybody's asking, God, just end all pain, because we consider that, well, you can't ask that because that seems unrealistic. That's, that doesn't, in this world, this world is filled with pain, so like it's kind of like asking God to reverse time. So like, God, we've been going forward in time for a while. Let's let's go in reverse, And so like some things to us appear just like impossible, so we don't pray for them. We don't ask for them. But now I'm going to recall a movie that I saw a while back called Melancholia, I believe. Kirsten Dunst, a few other people, where there is a comet and there's a planet, giant asteroid, something hurtling toward the Earth. And it's not as if it takes them by surprise. It's like they know that it's coming. So basically they know that their world is going to end. And so like, consider there are, that is a possibility, an extinction level event where like a huge comet, let's say the size of Texas, just hurtles into us, and all of a sudden there's no sentient life on Earth anymore. Then what? Well, let's say we tie that with this notion that that we have souls, that we have, our essence is not limited to our corporeal being, that we extend beyond that. We existed before we were incorporated, into this body, into this life, and after we die, we will continue to exist. So let's say we accept that premise. If we do, then, again, I started out asking why God created a world where there's pain for sentient beings, And so now I guess, we're moving on to like, well, and we'll ask it again, because maybe there is an answer that still hasn't become apparent. But what we're exploring now is, what can we do about it? Outside of the box thinking. So if prayer is efficacious, can you imagine, and this is like outside of the realm of most people's worldview, mindset, something that most people really can't conceive of too easily, but if you consider that prayer is efficacious, and that pain, suffering is really what we object to in this world, and that we have these souls that are eternal, just as eternal as God, perhaps, then the prospect emerges of having a prayer. Ask God, listen, this world has been all right, but we it'd be nice to have a new world. And I guess good analogy is like, you have a day, the sun comes up, sun comes down, then you have a next day, a brand new day, and we've had so many days. So imagine that. Imagine praying to God. God, listen, you can do this. The way to end all pain for all sentient beings, not just human beings, cats, dogs, all these animals that we human beings are, not of a free will, thankfully, but we just torture and abuse like 80 billion farm animals each year. So like there's a lot of suffering of other animals, and a lot of it, is at our hands. So imagine praying to God, listen, and actually just one more kind of factor in this that I think is very relevant. As we get older, 80, 90, 100, 110, whatever, life can become more difficult. And so like at a certain point, death becomes a blessing in our individual lives. Oh, thank God I'm not alive anymore. So So we may be, and this other factor that I want to bring into this is climate change. This idea that it's not our fault because we don't have a free will, but you know, we've gone past the point of no return. The planet is going to get hotter and hotter and hotter, and we'll have geopolitical problems. Um, Life will get more and more challenging on the planet. Now, you know, having said that, I don't want to just sound so dire, because another part of this is like, yes, our planet, you know, we may be facing major, increasingly difficult challenges over the decades, centuries. But, you know, on the other hand, going back to this idea that our lives are most fundamentally emotional, you know, we could easily, I think, within the next 30, 40 years, perhaps, you know, within less time, develop these chemical agents, you know, like antidepressants, anti-anxiety agents that would we could perfect this. We could just go throughout life, you know, feeling really good all the time. And just a brief aside with that is, like, you know, a lot of people might object to that, saying that that's not real, you know, that actually it would be real. I mean, it's like, you know, the substrates of our emotional states, moods, you know, feelings are all biological anyhow. It's all biology. It's all happening in the brain. And the other part of that is, like, you know, we have a prejudice against medicine that affects our mind. You know, if we have, like, you know, if our heart or liver or lungs or some organ isn't working well, you know, very few of us object to some kind of medicine that heals that cures that, you know, helps that. But like when it comes on, it's like, so actually, no, yeah, in terms of like major depression, major anxiety, yes, we'll say fine. But in terms of like having average people, again, who may be experiencing more and more pain as these decades unfold, you know, with climate change and all, for them to just not feel that pain and feel better, the prospect emerges of these agents that, you know, will bliss everyone out. Brave New World, you know, Soma, something, you know, you take it and you just feel really, really good. So, you know, we have a prejudice against that. I'm not sure why that is. I think it's perhaps because of our major experience with those kinds of agents is alcohol. And alcohol is subject to abuse. And also, like, you know, nicotine, you know, isn't all that healthy. But all right, so again, you know, there may be, while if our world is on a downward spiral, you know, that for whatever reason, you know, there may be fixes that are available to us. But, you know, let's say we're going for not just feeling better. Let's say we're going for a perfect world. So the prayer would become, dear God, you know, we recognize that we are eternal, that we do not need our bodies, and in fact, that our bodies may be our source of problem, that we may have been far better off before having been born into this world, and presumably will be far better off in the next world. So given those given those factors, you know, the prayer would become, well, you know, why keep us in pain like this? If we don't exist, you know, as sentient beings, if we don't exist on this, if no one exists, then at least on this planet Earth, I mean, we can't speak for other planets in other galaxies, other parts of the universe, but at least for this, you know, locale, we would have ended the problem of pain and suffering, which is, you know, you can't deny it's the fundamental problem. It's why we, you know, I mean, it's the inverse of like seeking happiness and pleasure, you know, avoiding pain and suffering. Um, so it's a curious kind of a consideration. I think this is one of the first times, if not the first, that I've raised it on this series. If you're going to ask God for something, why go half measures? and naturally, the objection will be, well, it could be that, we don't have eternal souls. It could be that like we're gone and we're just gone. So why waste, whatever pleasure is available to us on this planet, which is, it's a cogent point. But, I guess in that case, we'd want to trust God, that if that were the case, or we have the prayer be conditional. God listened, yeah, we're doing much better than we were 100, 500 years ago, and we appreciate all that. But now we just want to go over the goal line. We want to exist eternally or if not eternally, just for a very long time, without any pain and suffering at all. It's complete bliss. We know that you can do this because, it seems, you're all powerful. You are everything. So yeah, the prayer would become instead of going half measures, making things a little better for us, whatever. Why aren't we praying this prayer? And this is kind of like the prayer of the Messianic era in Judaism, Christianity, just like, but even that, I don't know, there's conceptions supposed to only last 1,000 years or something like that. But consider that. I'm trying to think of a good analogy where we ask, where we settle for less than we could conceivably have. And I don't know, maybe on another episode it'll come to me. God is not providing. So yes, that might be the prayer. God, like send some giant comet, some asteroid into us, blow us all into kingdom come, no more planet, no more earth, no more problems. It's kind of like under this scenario, our souls are captive to these bodies, and it would be freeing them from this captivity, from this bondage, presumably to return, that's the premise, to a more blissful, a completely blissful existence. I mean, it's just conjecture in terms of regarding what was the character of the existence our souls resided in before, entering these bodies. But I think it's, and let's say that, let's say it wasn't perfect. I mean, like, again, if you're praying to God, and this is, I think, one of the key points of this episode, if you're praying to God, it might be wiser, more efficacious to pray for everything. And yes, I mean, some people will object that this isn't a politically correct prayer, like, this person, my God, he's praying for God to destroy the world, on the surface it seems like, are you sure you want to pray for that? But again, if you make that prayer conditional, like, God, do this only if we're right about our souls being captive in these bodies, and if we're right that that by ending this material existence, that it causes us so much pain in so many ways, we can have our really single desire fulfilled, to feel good, to feel happy, pleasant, all the time, really. Why not? Yeah, that is a prayer. Again, it's not a prayer that most vast majority of people would appreciate. But then you have to understand, I mean, like, look at science, this computer, like most people don't understand technology, don't understand science, whatever. So it's not something that you would expect people to understand, or that it's necessary for them to understand, unless, perhaps prayers, especially prayers of this nature, have a collective component where there has to be a critical mass of people, praying a certain prayer for God to grant it. I mean, that's a possibility. But yes, so like that would be the answer. And we really haven't, answered the question of why God created pain to begin with. But something tells me to just stay with it, to not, most people would say, well, that's a question without an answer we can know. There's no way of knowing. I'm not sure about that. Again, like before I started asking the question, it didn't occur to me that punishment from God is analogous to a parent punishing a child for their good. Which kind of like ameliorates the punishment, doesn't make it as bad, gives it a reason. It's an act of love, not an act of malice. So, all right, I've got about less than 2 minutes. This is the episode for later today, because I was like so tired yesterday. It's rare that I don't do an episode on the day, before the supposed to air, but what I'm going to do, intentionally, it's Purim today, and I intend to get drunk tonight, for the Purim. And I was thinking, well, maybe I'll tape an episode after that. But no, I think what I want to do is, like, I want to tape the next episode immediately after this. It's only like 1 o'clock. And yeah, I think it'd be a good thing to do. Unless there's a class that I may want to attend that starts at 1. I don't know, we'll see. All right. So anyway, thanks for watching. Now, should I? No, I think I do want. No, yeah, I want to attend this class. Yeah, and so I guess maybe I'll tape the next episode later. I don't know. Who knows? This is all up to God. See, everything is up to God. And that's why we don't know what we're going to do until we find ourselves doing it. So I hope you're having a good day. And yeah, Andy will probably be joining me. It's Thursday, maybe on Sunday or so for another episode. All right, catch this on TV or the internet. Thanks for watching. Bye.